Hello, and welcome to the Fast Forward Amy show, the show where we talk about how you can lift your life and business with simple strategies. I'm Fast Forward Amy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode every Tuesday. Today, we're going to be talking about how I manifested my $1 million house, and we're going to be going through a lot of abundance and money mindset talk. Now, that house is what you see right now because I'm actually recording in my new film studio, in my new house, and I'm a little bit afraid to record this episode, but I feel like I owe it to you, and I've gotten so many questions about it. I'm just going to hit record. Well, my camera friend has hit record, and we're gonna do this. Before we get really deep into it, you might not know me. I'm Amy van de Putte, and online I'm better known as Fast Forward Amy. And a few months ago, I moved into my first house that I owned, and it's $1 million house with an indoor pool and a wine cellar and everything. And I worked really hard to get here, but still, as a 27-year-old, it's a pretty bold move. One that not everyone would actually be very supportive about. And today I want to walk you through how I manifested it and how I made that happen. And I hope you'll like it. I feel a little bit uncomfortable to record it. If you want to know more about money mindset, by the way, you can read all about this episode, so the recap of all of this, through fastforwardamy.com/62. And I've also created a money mindset guide for you. In that money mindset guide, you'll learn how to rewrite your own story with money and create new money mantras on a positive side. And you can grab that through fastforwardamy.com/money mindset guide. Or simply click the link in the description of this episode, which is always how it works, by the way. We always have articles, we always have downloads, so that we can help you to achieve your own freedom-based life and business, because that's what we want here at the Fast Forward Amy family and the Academy. So, a few months ago, thinking March 2020, lockdown started, and I was living in a tiny apartment in Antwerp. And about a year before that, I had redecorated that apartment. I'd gotten someone to help me, so it had really bright walls. I made the most I could out of that small space, and for example, the kitchen didn't look all that great, but I changed all of the handles to golden handles and stuff like that. But it really didn't fit me anymore and what I was doing as a business owner and as an ambitious woman who wanted to build an empire. Lockdown happened, and I was very afraid of everything, or at least I didn't want to go outside and bump into people in the middle of the city center in Antwerp, so I stayed inside a lot, and I was feeling very stuck, because I was also dating my boyfriend. My boyfriend has kids, and in the beginning we couldn't see each other because of the whole corona situation, and for it to be safe for the kids and for everyone else. And then I stayed inside, didn't go outside, and I became really, really, really unhappy, always sitting on the couch, losing my entire rhythm. And for the first time, in the longest time, I thought, wow, I really want a garden and I want some sunshine. And I started thinking, well, I'm making a good amount of money. I can use it for my recordings. Why don't I start looking for maybe a place to rent during the summer? And I was thinking maybe I can rent a house in the suburbs, a big villa with a pool so the kids can play outside. I was like, you know what, if we can't go on a vacation, if we can't go away, maybe we just do a staycation, but we rent a villa that's furbished and we move in there. Turned out, after reaching out to a bunch of places, the villas were crazy expensive. They were like 3,000, 5,000 euros a month, and they weren't even that big or whatever, not furbished anything. So it seemed like a really big ordeal. And then we were looking online a lot, like, what is out there? And I was starting to think about it, like, I can go and move into Charlie's apartment, but there's not a lot of space there. I mean, it's a big apartment, but I work from home, and would be working in the living room the entire time, which is fine, but just for me, I also have a team and everything, and I kind of need some space, you know? So one thing led to another. We were researching a lot of homes, and we came across this one home that looked amazing. And it was one of the first homes we saw, actually. It wasn't for rent, it was for sale. And Charlie was especially enamored by it, and I was like, yeah, it's really pretty, but the location can't be good because of what we saw. So we ended up getting a video from the realtor because she made that at the beginning of the lockdown, and she filmed the entire house, and we were flabbergasted. The house was beautiful, perfect, everything. But it turned out that the location wasn't exactly what we wanted. And I kept like pushing it back. I'm like, no, no, no. But then, and no one in my surroundings thought it was a good plan. Everyone's like, it's too soon, and your business is doing well now, but will it continue to be doing well? So there was a lot of doubt. I also got people telling me like, well, that specific house, for example, you can't really make a really big profit on it because it's already fully done, and it's better to buy a house and then to flip it. But newsflash, I'm not great at flipping houses or doing stuff myself. I'm really great at doing this. And when I have a setup where I can do that, it helps me a lot. Now, I'll fast forward for a bit. I ended up buying the house myself, by the way. I say we because in private settings with Charlie and me and with the kids, we say we, but I bought it. It's fully mine. Charlie kept his own apartment. I know a lot of people ask about that. And I did this without any outside financial help, as in I got nothing from no one. I have a loan, talk about that later, but no one gave me anything. I didn't have any savings from my parents, nothing. And a few years ago, I had exactly nothing. Many, many years ago, I wanted to move out, live by myself, and rent a place during my, while I was still getting my degree and working, and I couldn't afford it. Then after a bunch of stuff happened, I finally figured out a way to rent something from someone so that I could run my business and stuff from there. But it was always like, I was used to having between zero and €1,000 on my bank account, and that was it. No savings, nothing. And in a few years, I went from that to owning this $1 million house. So I guess I want to tell you how I did that without any money and without anyone believing in the plan. And the biggest thing that happened is I listened to my own feeling, and I was like, well, I really do see myself living there. I really do think it would be great for my work, but it would be especially great for me privately. And I started figuring it out, calculating, and I thought, you know what, based on the numbers, I could actually afford to buy it. And I could have a loan from my own business and everything, so I started figuring out. But this entire episode is like me talking to a friend. This is such an intangible subject, but it started with, I used to look at houses as like, well, then you pay a bunch of money and you lose the money. But of course, you put the money in a house, and you get that back because you have the property then and the house that's on it. I think the biggest part of this vision that I created for myself was a little bit subconscious because as I was writing this episode that so many people asked me about, I realized 2 years ago I was in LA in Jenna and Julian's house. They're very famous online. They're friends of my brother. I didn't know who they were, but I ended up in their house. And they had a beautiful house with white marble. They had a podcast recording room and another recording room for videos, I think. And I was like, holy shit, how do you get here? With like a gate and everything was with a lot of surveillance. And that's only 2 years ago. And I remember sitting there and having fun and drinks. And I was like, well, I could really see myself living in this place. And did I doubt myself that I could do it at the time? Maybe, but I also just like sent out that energy into the universe. Like, how amazing would that be if I would be living in a house like that? And how much would that do for me in terms of energy and also in terms of marketing and everything? But even before that, I used to work with clients who had indoor pools and who hired a personal trainer every morning or multiple mornings a week. And I used to think that was outrageous. Like, I was a personal trainer back then. I was getting hired and I couldn't figure out how they afforded it. I was like, that blows my mind. But right now, for the past years already, I've been investing in myself and hiring a personal trainer. Even when it felt like a really big expense compared to what I was making, I still did it because I knew it's going to give me the energy back so I can invest that in other stuff. And I think that's a really big part of the manifesting and the abundance is seeing where something will get you long term instead of seeing it subtract from it in the short term, because that's when you end up in scarcity. When you only see, when I hire the personal trainer, I will have less money, then you will just have less money and not more energy. But I see investing in a personal trainer and getting back 10 times as much energy that I can then invest in my creative space of genius or zone of genius, whatever. So the trick has always been to do something before the energy was there to do it. And that's how I created the energy to do the things. So, for example, the house, I signed for the house when I didn't have a loan yet. By the way, that's a whole story. I heard from the bank that I was going to be getting a loan, signed for the house, obviously with like the things that I could still get out of it. But then I heard back from the bank and they literally told me, and this is a bank for entrepreneurs in Belgium. They literally told me, for a young woman your age, we think this is a little bit too far-fetched or like too far out of your league. So they said, for a young woman your age, this is too far out of your league. Despite my numbers being solid, my business model being an amazing business model, and everything being perfect, they just said, for a young woman your age, we think it's too far out of your league. And that could have really crushed me. It crushed me for a bit, by the way. I started really doubting myself, and I had just signed, and I had 4 months to fulfill everything. And then if I wanted to get out of it, I had 1 month, and this was all past summer. And it really shook my confidence. And I was like, whoa, maybe my business model isn't good, or maybe my numbers aren't great, or maybe I'm not good at what I do. And I started doubting myself. And then I talked to my dad. My dad's amazing, by the way. He was here 2 episodes ago. And he was like, don't let them do this to you. And I also worked through it and was like, in moments like those, you can choose to sit down and cry, and you can always cry for a bit. But I was also like, you know what? Fuck you. I'll pay for it cash. And I decided to make the exact amount of money I needed for the house in that summer within that time frame. Obviously, I wasn't really going to pay for it cash, but I wanted to depend on myself because I clearly couldn't depend on anyone else. And I decided, like, I can make $1 million in 2 months. So I didn't make $1 million in 2 months. I made it because of years of hard work. But I sold for $1 million in a period of 2 months' time. And it was still very hard work to get the house because there was a lot of, like, with the bank and things, and everything was on very last minute, and it put so much stress on me. But what I did is I signed for the house before I had the evidence I could do it. By signing, that was the evidence that I could do it. I got the personal trainer before I felt like I could do it. And by getting the personal trainer, I sent out that energy into the universe and got it back. When I hired my first VA, there wasn't a clear ROI on that. But by hiring her, I was creating the ROI for myself and the space for myself. When I hire new support coaches for my new program, by the way, that's closing in 1 week. If you're still thinking about the Business Freedom Elevator, you have until Monday evening, the 31st of January, 8 p.m. to sign up. Otherwise, you can't sign up anymore. And the link is fastforwardamy.com/elevator, by the way. So you create the energy because you do the thing before you are ready. And that is manifesting. Manifesting is acting like it's already there. So hiring support coaches, that's what I was saying. I can hire a couple more support coaches because I know there are so many new clients flowing in. And because I have them, I create the energy and the permission for the money to flow in and for the new clients to flow in. I feel like I'm completely messing up this episode. It's very difficult to talk about. But a few things that happen when manifesting is that you're not always conscious, but I doubt myself often. But I still had a very firm belief that I could live here. I saw myself living here. I saw me and my family living here. I saw this studio being created. I saw my downstairs office, and I envisioned it a lot. But I think a lot of people think that with manifesting, you keep seeing the picture. With me, it's not that. It's one very clear decision, like I will live there, and I don't even need to think about it the entire time. It's subconsciously like energy that's being sent out. But what was really funny is I was recording modules for my Business Freedom Elevator this summer, and I have a module on goal setting. And for that module, a few months before, I think it was in April or something, I had created a vision board. And it was an example vision board that I put together in a few minutes as an example in an Excel file. And I looked at it, and everything on the vision board that was like a fake vision board, you can find in this house. So in different steps of my life, I decided like, I want to live in a house with an indoor pool. How cool would that be? Wow, a recording studio in your house is amazing. Oh, the white marble, I really love it. And then in the vision board, I put the roof my house has and the vibe and everything. And when I saw that, like literally my breath stopped and I realized like, whoa, I created this out of thin air because practically, or like, so according to our society, it shouldn't be done. And I know sometimes I'm like, I'm just a normal girl, so if I can do it, you can do it too. And then some people tell me like, Amy, you're not just a normal girl, or you're really smart, whatever. Sure, I have a good brain, I have very supportive parents, but I've also had other stuff really stacked against me. And I'm not saying I'm not privileged. I'm privileged, obviously. I had a good education. But I truly believe that you can do anything you want. You can achieve anything you set your mind to. If you want to live in $1 million house, you can do that. Do you want a private jet? You can do that. Do you want to fund a school for kids with no education? You can do that. Our society makes us believe we can't do stuff, but it's bullshit. We can all do whatever we want if we can harness that energy and that abundance into achieving that. And I feel so many emotions bubbling up as I'm talking about this, but you can't be listening to the naysayers. You can't be listening to the people who tell you you can't buy that house, or isn't it too soon, or are you sure you want to take that risk, or don't make the podcast, or why would you make a podcast, stuff like that. You especially can't listen to the naysayer inside of you. If you want to create abundance in your life, if you want to manifest whatever you want, you need to believe. And there's a really famous quote, can't remember who said it. Whatever your mind believes, it achieves. I want to say it's Edison, but I'm not sure. Whatever your mind believes, it achieves. And I also think energy-wise, and I don't talk about spirituality a lot, but a few months ago, my dad told me, he's like, yeah, with the house, you know what I saw? I had a dream and it was really, really vivid. And he said, I saw myself sitting in your studio upstairs recording a podcast and you being filmed by a film crew and walking in and being like, hey dad, what you doing? And he was recording a podcast. And then later walking into the kitchen with a cup of coffee, and he said, I had a dream and it was that house. And a few months later that happened. So I believe if you believe, it can create amazing things. If you have multiple people around you believing, you can create even more abundance. And this sounds very woo-woo, but there's really tiny stuff. I now have some of the clients I used to look up to most. I had certain mugs and a teapot in their kitchen. And whenever I went to coach them, they would actually grab those mugs and go to the pool to train. I have those mugs. I got them as a gift. I have the pot. I don't know where I got the pot. Like it was separate gifts and things. But I allowed myself to believe that I could have a life like that. And I allowed myself to believe that I was worth it. Although, in full disclaimer, I've struggled with my self-worth a lot over the past couple of months. I've hit a lot of limiting beliefs. Probably you can hear it in my voice. I'm choking up a little bit. But the biggest thing is choosing to be abundant constantly. Like, I could have said no to the house. I could have gotten out of the contract just in time. I could have asked a couple of banks to sign the papers of like, no, she can't do it because we're not giving her a loan. And instead, the deadline was approaching, the deadline that I could still get out of it. And I was like, okay, we're going to let the deadline pass. And I'm buying it before I can. And by doing that, I can. And this is not to say that you should be irresponsible with your money. Definitely not. But I had a really, really firm belief in that it was possible. I was also scared shitless. And I got a lot of questions about all of this. And someone asked me, did you doubt yourself? The answer is definitely yes. I think that's clear. But I decided to believe more than to doubt. That's a great quote. People ask me, how detailed was your image pre-manifestation? Apparently pretty detailed, because it was exactly this house. Because I had the video for a while, and then even in my mood boards and in past experiences in my life, I had encountered places like this. And I think that's, by the way, a really big factor, because if you don't surround yourself with those situations, then you don't know what you're looking for. If I didn't have those clients that used to maybe intimidate me or that made me slightly uncomfortable or jealous, I wouldn't have been faced with what I wanted. And that's why, despite it making me uncomfortable, I'm talking about this because it might inspire you. If this even inspires one person to go after what they want, then I did my job. How much did I settle on my own for the house? I paid 20% myself and everything else is a loan, but it's a construction with my business because I use it a lot for my business. And then a lot of questions came in about the balance between saving money and investing, and the balance between abundance and smart money management. And I think you always need to know what the return on investment can be for yourself. And for me, I really knew, and this is not something that is data, this is energy. I knew if I invest in this house, it's going to come back to me multiple times, like 10 times over, even more. And purely in the energy that I'm creating by doing this. And I think bad money management is when you just spend money on liabilities and you just buy stuff to buy stuff. And I talked about that in an episode, I think it was the 22nd of December. It's an episode where I talk about money, assets versus liabilities. Definitely check that out. But how do you balance it? Well, there's a difference between just spending money or investing money in something that can turn into more. And energy-wise, I knew that this was going to create the space for me to get in even more into my zone of genius and to create even more. This is all coming from someone who used to work above the garage next to the washer and dryer, who at one point didn't have enough money to buy new school books. I'm talking about this because honestly, the first 24 hours that I moved in, I felt physically good. The environment felt good to me, but mentally I was freaking out. I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. And I've struggled with it a lot also during my launch and other stuff. Like, it's a worthiness thing. Like, did I deserve to be here? Did I deserve to buy this? I'm like, yeah, I fought for it. I fought tooth and nail and I did not let go. And that's what I want to tell you. Don't let go of your dreams. Just everyone else will tell you it can be done. You will tell yourself it can be done. But listen to that other voice, the voice of hope that tells you it can be done. On that note, I'm going to finish up because I'm choking up and I'm But if you want to learn more about abundance and money mindset, in episode 12 and episode 20 of the Fast Forward Amy Show, you can learn more. And I've included a download, the money mindset guide, that you can download by clicking the link in the description. And I want to ask you if you want, it's the same investing in other people, investing in this camera setup, by the way, which is costing me a ton of money to make all of this happen today. I choose to invest in it, and there's not a tangible return on every podcast episode. But I choose to work the long-term thing. And that's what I see with my most successful clients is they choose the long-term results and not the short-term results, because that will set you up for success. If you want help achieving long-term results, I kindly invite you to the Business Freedom Elevator. Next week, Monday, the 31st of January, Monday evening, 8 p.m., we are closing the doors. You will not be able to get in anymore. We don't know when we are opening again, or if we are opening again. People never believe me when I say that, but I've done it in the past with my mastermind, and everyone was like, oh my God, you were serious. Of course I'm serious. It's my business. Maybe in 6 months I don't want to do it again. But this round, I am incredibly enthusiastic to work with you, and I hope to welcome you in the elevator. Go to fastforwardamy.com/elevator to sign up for this round, or to waitlist, for example, for maybe an English version. I hope to see you there. I also hope I get a lot of love on this episode. Because in Belgium, we don't talk about money, or not as much. And if you became a little bit more abundant by listening to this, or if you're feeling a little bit more hopeful or energetic, please send this out into the world. Please share this message, because there's too many people making other people smaller, making other people feel more scarcity, and it's time that we all feel more abundant. So abundantly, share away, please. Like, comment, and definitely subscribe, and see you again next week.